boys and girls, it's Miss Truitt here, and we are on Tuesday, May 19th, and today I'm just going to do the math task and the procedural practice separate. So this is our third grade packet for BCSD, and today's kind of fun. You had these fraction strips, and the first thing you will need to do is pause the video and cut out your fraction strips. So get these all ready. You have a whole, you have 2/2, 3/3, 4/4, 5/5, 6/6, 8/8, 10/10, and 12/12. So we are going to be looking at this task and thinking about what we notice and what we wonder. And we did this in class already. We did this with our fraction circles, and we did this with our fraction tiles. And what I notice that's interesting, and something that you noticed in class, is that when a fraction gets larger, the bottom number or the denominator, or smaller, excuse me, when a fraction gets smaller, not larger, the denominator or the bottom number of the fraction gets bigger. So the smaller the fraction, the larger the number on the bottom. Something else I notice is all these fractions have a 1 on the top. So I'm going to write this down. I notice the smaller the pieces, the larger the denominator or the bottom number. And I did a lot of videos on fractions when we first started at home before I was working in the packet with you guys, so you can refer back to those videos as well. Okay, I also notice that the numerator in all of these little pieces, the numerator is 1 in all of those pieces. Okay, I could also say that the smaller the number on the bottom, as the numbers get smaller, the pieces get larger. So the opposite of this statement. So then you can think of some things that you wonder. I want you to look at these pieces and think, what do you wonder about these fractions? Okay. I wonder why there isn't a 7 or a 9, 7ths or 9ths. Why are they missing? And 11ths. I wonder why some numbers are missing. Maybe that's a question you have. Oh, it already says I wonder, so I'm going to write why 7, 9, and 11 are missing. I want you to think of other things that you wonder when you look at these fraction pieces. All right, so first thing it asks, I have my 1 strip here. It says, how many thirds fit in 1? So first, let's take a step back. There's something I forgot to tell you. The top number of a fraction is called the numerator. And the bottom number of a fraction is called the denominator. I'm good. So, sorry about that. The numerator is on the top and the denominator is on the bottom. So all of our numerators on these, for these fractions, are 1s. All of our denominators are the number that's on the bottom. And like I said, as the number gets larger, the pieces get smaller. As the numbers get smaller on the bottom, the pieces get larger. So it goes both ways. So I'm wondering why those are missing. And I did a new setup, but I still kind of bumped it. Sorry about that, boys and girls. So how many thirds fit in 1? So I need to know a third starts with, and that's the same as 3. So I'm going to look for my piece that has 3. My piece that has 3. And I have 1, 2, 3 thirds. So 3 thirds make a whole. If I was to add these together, I'd have 1, 2, 3 pieces. But each piece of this fraction strip is 1/3. So there's 1/3, and there's another third, and there's another third. So I know that there are, how many thirds fit into 1? There are 3 thirds, or 3/3 fit in 1. And I want you to remember that 3/3, whenever you have the same numerator and denominator, they're equivalent or equal to 1. It could be 1,050 over 1,050. That's going to be equal to 1 no matter what, okay? And I want you to remember too that when there's a 1 on the top of the fraction, it's called a unit fraction. This is 1 unit of the whole. This is 1 part of the whole. So this is 1 out of 3 pieces. This is 1 out of 3 pieces. This is 1 out of 3 pieces, okay? All right, so let's put our thirds back. Which number's closest to 0, okay? So if I think about 0, that's right now the smallest number that we know because you haven't learned negative numbers. So I would look for the smallest number here, and the smallest number here is 12ths. So if I was to put these 12ths on my number line, I would have 12 twelfths because 12 twelfths makes a whole. 12 twelfths makes a whole. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if these all fit here. Oopsie, I dropped one over here. 5. These are a little tricky. After I started doing this, I thought, oh, I should have brought my fraction tiles. That would have been so much easier from school. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 of these, if they were perfectly placed, fit onto this piece here. If they were perfectly placed on there, they would fit exactly onto here. All right, so that is the smallest unit that is closest to 0. So 1/12 is closest to 0. All right. There's Ziggy saying hi. What number is closest to 1? So then I would clear off my board again, move these all over here. What number is closest to 1? So that would have to be the largest fraction or the largest unit that I'm looking at. And the largest fraction that I can see is 1/2. 2 halves make a whole. So that reminds me of something funny. So the number closest to 1 is 1/2 because it's the largest piece, and only 2 of these make a whole, while 12 of these pieces made a whole. So it is the closest to 1. So 1/2 is closest to 1. All right. Which number is bigger, 1/2 or 5/8? So let's look here. Here's 1/2. I put the halves. And this is what you might want to do. You want to compare fractions. So I'm going to put the halves next to my 1 on the top, and then I'm going to put my 8ths on top of that. And you might say, oh, Miss True, this is easy. I already know how to do this. I can do this on my own. Well, if it's too easy, turn it off and do it on your own. I want you to be challenged. I don't want you to just do what I'm doing. If you already know this and you understand it, you don't need to watch the video, okay? You should be doing it on your own. All right, so those kiddos that have been doing Khan Academy, this is time for you to show what you know to your parents, what you learned with fraction strips. All right, so I have 8/8, which is equal to 2 halves, which is equal to 1. So it says which number is bigger? Well, clearly 1/2 is larger than, well, let's look again. Hang on a second. I need to read this again. Which number is bigger, 1/2 or 5/8? So no, it's not 1/2. I have to look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8 goes all the way over to here. So it's 1/2 plus another portion, another quarter of the strip over here. One portion of the strip. Yeah, it would be like a quarter of the strip. So actually, 5/8 is larger than 1/2. So we would say 5/8 is larger This is why it's important to read the whole problem. 5/8 is larger because 5/8 takes up more than half of one. It takes up more than 1/2 of a strip. All right. What numbers are equal to 1/2? What numbers are equal to 1/2? So I'm going to have you do this last portion on your own. I would like you to take and compare, like here, if I was to compare eighths. Ooh, I think it started, oh, I thought it started raining outside. It's just windy out there. We have the window open because it's so beautiful, and I was thinking, oh no, I need to go close it. All right, so my eighths. How many eighths equal 1/2? So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 eighths. 4 eighths equal 1/2. I would like you to compare using all these other fraction strips and see how many thirds, if there are thirds that equal 1/2, if there are fourths that equal 1/2, if there are fifths that equal 1/2, if there, how many sixths would equal 1/2, and how many tenths and twelfths would equal 1/2. Maybe they don't work. Maybe you go to put it on there and you realize, oh, this doesn't fit. So look, like this would be a good example. Do these thirds match halves? No, because look, it's a third and 1/2 of a third. So we wouldn't want to write thirds down because it's not equivalent. 1/3, it's not 2/3 that makes a third. It's one third and another half. So right now I can write down that 4 eighths, so 1/2 equals 4 eighths, and I would like you to compare all of the other fractions to halves and decide which fractions are equal to 1/2. All right, so this is our equivalent fraction part down here. Finish that up, boys and girls. If you want to go ahead and post it in our class story, you can. And I hope this helped you with fractions. Please go back and watch those earlier videos that I did at the beginning of our quarantine. All right, love to you all, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll be back with math procedural practice soon. All right, bye-bye.